Mr. Speaker, good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's talk about your budget priorities. You want to fully fund public education there in the House as your base budget. I presume, though, that means that if that were to happen and were to get passed, that my property taxes would go down. Is that right?
Well, there is a compression rate to all that, absolutely, and that is something that we want to be mindful of. We passed historic legislation last session dealing with property tax reform and school finance reform, and they are intertwined and they are partners. So we want to fully, maintain our commitment fully to public education without raising taxes on anybody or raising fees on anybody. We're coming out of a pandemic here. The economy is returning. Texas is the best place to do business in. It is the best place to raise a family. We want to continue that momentum we have here in the state of Texas, but it starts with public education. And I have full faith that the House, when we release our base budget, will fully follow through with that commitment that we passed in 2019.
Mr. Speaker, can you talk about what is eliminated from the budget in order to achieve that fully funding of public education?
There is some agency reductions throughout the budget where we cut spending, absolutely. We do have the opportunity with some federal dollars through the CARES Act as well. At some point, both chambers will have to look at whether or not we want to use the rainy day fund, the ESF fund, which is over $11 billion as well. So there's opportunity there. We have reduced spending at the state level, and that's just what happens when you have a deficit. I've been on appropriations twice, once with a surplus and once with a deficit. So it's a very conservative budget. It's something that I think Texans will be proud of.
Mr. Speaker, what do you expect to be the most controversial bills of this session?
The budget will be controversial, especially when you reduce spending. Some people will have an issue with that. Of course, redistricting is another issue that's very controversial. It's very personal. You have congressional, the state House, the state Senate, state Board of Education, and those lines shift as population growth shifts. So that is something that all members are very aware of, and they'll be very protective of their districts, obviously. So that'll be very controversial as well. And just how we respond to COVID in general, it's something that's impacted the entire state, obviously, and of course all state agencies and the state budget. It's impacted public education, healthcare. So there's different opinions as how we respond to a pandemic, and we haven't done this in 102 years. And it's obviously going to impact how we interact with the public, and we want to be mindful that the public has an opportunity to come and address us and weigh in on legislation.
After last year, there have been a lot of calls for police reform. What kind of ideas could you get behind on that?
That's going to be up to the members to bring legislation forward when it comes to criminal justice reform or social justice reform, police reform. There's a lot of ideas out there from a lot of different members, both Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate. It's going to be a very big topic this session. There's no doubt about it. I have not had the opportunity to go through all of them. There are dozens of bills filed on this topic. So I think there'll be plenty of great ideas that make it to the House floor. And if they have 76 votes, then they'll go over to the Senate.
How about election reform? Anything specific in there you think that actually has a chance of getting passed?
It's another issue that's obviously very hot topic, no doubt about it, not just in Texas, but across this country, and how we address election integrity. There were some irregularities, in my opinion, from certain counties this last cycle, just mailing out ballots and kind of creating their own election statutes on a whim. And that's something we definitely need to address. And I think that will be something that will come to the House floor as well.
I want to talk about the spirit of unity that we heard in your acceptance speech when you were elected as Speaker. You said, quote, "We must all do our part, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as Texans and Americans. Let us unite in one common purpose to do what is right for the people of Texas." How challenging is that going to be right now in this political climate?
It's going to be very challenging. I've never seen anything like this. I worked in Washington, D.C. as a young man years and years ago, and I actually would have been in the office just above where the current House Speaker has her office, and I would have been in the middle of that melee, and I just can't believe we've come to that. The House, right here where I stand right now, the House and Senate are fortified with DPS officers because of perceived threats that are out there to the Texas Capitol. It's a very very much a powder keg politics are right now. But in Texas, we operate a little differently, and we come together every other odd year for 140 days, and we understand that the pressure to get things done, and we get it done here in Texas. And quite frankly, many of the issues we take up are not Republican, Democrat. There could be rural versus urban. They could be who has water, who doesn't have water. It could be education funding formulas and where you fall on those different type of revenue streams. So it is it's very much a bipartisan building. We get things done. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. We will have partisan fights. We always do. But we're a citizen legislature. And the best part about everything we do here at the Texas Capitol is we go back home and we live underneath those laws that we pass. And so there's atonement there for what we do at this building. And quite frankly, everyone wants to just get to work as soon as we can, despite having a pandemic, and everybody wants to go home in 140 days.
Yeah, no doubt on that. Speaking of partisanship, though, you've already had some pushback from the right wing of the Republican Party there. The state GOP chairman, Alan West, did not initially support you. At least one member of the House did not vote for you, but because he said that you wouldn't commit to a truly conservative session. What is your message, Mr. Speaker, to the far right wing of your party?
I have an open door policy. I'm willing to work with anybody on any issue that benefits Texas. And when you become a speaker or you become a leader here in politics, whether it's lieutenant governor or the governor, you're going to have critics, and that's fine. And sometimes it's constructive and sometimes it's not. But I just say, I'm willing to work with anybody on any issue. And this is a member-driven process, and the agenda will be brought forth by the members of the Texas House. And the speaker is not going to dictate what occurs or doesn't occur. I want people to, this is a representative constitutional democracy, and I want members to represent their districts.
I want to ask you about President Biden canceling the Keystone Pipeline. You came out strongly against that. You represent not only the state, but also Beaumont, Port Arthur there, which is a huge refinery area. How do you expect that the Biden administration might impact, decisions like this might impact the oil and gas industry in our state?
It just sends the wrong message from day one that you're going to go after the oil and gas industry. It's vital to the state of Texas. It's obviously extremely important to Southeast Texas and House District 21, where I represent. The Keystone Pipeline ends in Nederland, Texas, where I represent. And, whether you agree or disagree on the use of fossil fuels or not, nothing's safer than a pipeline in transporting that product. And we want to get it off the roads. We want to get it off trains, and put it in a pipeline. And the pipeline already exists coming through Texas, so it's already there. We would just like to see it completed all the way through to where we could use those resources to create jobs in Southeast Texas and for Texas. And so we just want to be energy independent as well. We're finally energy independent, in my opinion. This country is, and quite frankly, it's because of the state of Texas that's driving that. And I think it just sends the wrong message to voters that this is how we're going to start the administration, by attacking the oil and gas industry.
Going back to your acceptance speech for a moment, listening to your acceptance speech, you don't seem to be someone who takes yourself too seriously. There were some laughs, a lot of smiles when people were listening to your speech. Am I reading you wrong on that?
No, this is an important job. I don't want to take light of it, but at the same time, you can't take yourself too serious in this role, and you have to realize that there've been 75 speakers before me, and there'll be 75 or more after me, and I'm just one person holding this job for this moment in time, and you got to enjoy it while you can, and if you can't, then it's going to get to you at the end of the day. And I've kind of had that opinion about the job when I became a state rep. I mean, this is not, there are people out there doing far more important things than me, and I'm just here to represent the 200,000 people back home in Southeast Texas. They put a lot of faith and trust in me, but at the same time, you've got to enjoy it, and you got to take yourself too serious is probably not the best way to run for office.
What more should Texans know about you as we, find out more about you? What do you want them to know? I'm an average Texan. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, and quite frankly, I bring to this, like every other member of the House, we're citizen legislatures, and we don't get paid to do this job. At the end of the day, I think I net $2.69 a month. We're all doing it for the right reasons. We do it because we truly care about our community.
And we come up here with our own ideas. None of us are experts in any one subject matter or not, and we rely on our citizens to tell us what's important. And some of my best bills came from constituents back home, and it's just a great body. I've got a lot of respect for the Texas House, but I want people to know I'm an honest broker and an average guy who's just had the distinct honor of being the Speaker of the House of Representatives here in Texas.
And it should be noted that every single Democrat in the House voted for you as well too, which is probably suggestive of your reputation.
It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to have bipartisan support as the Speaker of the Texas House. And going back to all my, I'm only the fourth Republican ever in the history of the state of Texas to be Speaker, but my previous three Republican colleagues, whom I've served with, all had Democrat support. And going back in probably my lifetime, the Democrats who were speakers over the last several decades had Republican support as well.
Mr. Speaker, best of luck to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.